Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all depends the part of the world you are joining us from. I remember as Chika Austin, and of course, we are here to talk about, developing issues. Yes, very, very important. We want to talk about developing issues, and I believe you are receiving us loud and clear. I believe strongly the visual and audio reach out is joining us from, you know, reaching at you clearly because we have to talk about a very, deep issues. Because if we do not, educate ourselves in these critical times as regards to what is steering before each and every one of us, we will end up losing it out to those who believe they are here to achieve a clear objective of conquest. Make no mistake about that. So I would want to confirm if I'm coming out loud and clear. Please kindly let us know how clear we are coming. In regards to that, also I would love you help us to share this program, because this program is going to educate us on diverse issues as regards to what is happening in Nigeria. Very, very important. The essence of us coming spontaneously to talk about the ongoing developments is anchored on the fact that nature abhors vacuum. If we fail to present the ideal information to ourselves, we will end up be fed with the wrong ones. Make no mistake about that. Nature abhors vacuum. So you either do what you're supposed to do, or you get others doing it. So what we want to talk today is basically on, if you understand, if you have carefully followed the ongoing developments in Nigeria, if you have carefully followed it, there is one common mantra that have been pushed out by Nigerian Islamic scholars, by the Nigerian political class. There have been this phrase, there have been this common mantra that everybody tends to talk about. And what is that phrase? What is that mantra? Everybody keeps saying, oh, we don't want us to be pushed to Sudan. Like, I don't know if you have taken note of that. It has been a spontaneous narrative. It has been a spontaneous, outburst. And that is why it's important we look at the Sudan phenomenon. What actually is this Sudan factor that nobody wants to elaborate on? Why are the political class talking about, oh, America should not take us to Sudan? America should not take us to this, America should not take us to that. What actually happened in Sudan? Why Sudan the epicenter of reference? Why are they not strongly referencing places like, oh, don't take us like Congo? Don't take us like Ukraine. Oh, don't take us like Libya. Why are they emphasizing heavily on Sudan? That unanswered question is the sense of this moment program. Because if that is for reference purpose, there are relative places that could as well be invoked by these guys. So when you hear them telling you Sudan, oh, we don't want to go the way of Sudan. Don't drag us to Sudan configuration. We don't want to experience Sudan. Ask them a question. Is Sudan the only crisis-prone area? The answer is no. There are crises in Yemen. There are crises in Ukraine. There is crisis in Sudan. There is crisis in Syria. There is crisis in Congo. Of course, there are countless places you can reference to say, oh, America, don't take us to that way. Are there no crises in Somalia? Why are they talking much about Sudan? Why has Sudan enveloped their reference point? This is what we want to talk about. Because the essence of telling you all these things is for you to understand the severity of the challenge, the severity of the problem. And of course, we keep talking. We own that responsibility to tell ourselves what the government have failed to say because of high level of complicity. You must understand that. So why is everyone talking about Sudan? Why is it that when the Islamic clerics, they want to invoke allusion or reference, they easily talk about Khartoum? Why is it the political class? Why are they crazy? Does it mean Sudan is the only area you have issues? Why are they talking about Sudan? And this is the whole essence of me turning on the camera of my gadget in order to get you acquainted, to understand that their conscious referencing of Sudan is not done on the altar of passivity. It is a conscious reference. It is a conscious knowledge that they are privy to, that unfortunately, most of us, because we have this high disdainful or disdain to knowledge, have destroyed ourselves. Now let's look at Sudan, because most of you do not understand. Sudan before now used to be an epicenter of Islamic studies. Take note of my language. Epicenter of Islamic study. And statistically speaking, because I cherish data, I love data reference. When you look at the number of northern Muslims that have studied in Sudan, there are above 800, if not 1,000, who have studied in Sudan. And what did they study in Sudan? As far back as 1960s, Sudan have been where most of these northern clerics, northern Muslims, have gone to study. And what do they study? They study mainly Salafism. Salafism. Yes, is a, should I say, an ideology or a version of Islam that talks about upholding the traditional teachings of Islam. The Salafis. Talking about the traditional teaching of Islam. So most Nigerian Muslims who travel to Sudan got there, learned about Islamic jurisprudence. And of course, if you talk about Islamic jurisprudence, you're talking about Sharia law. And Sharia law that is anchored on Salafis. Which means a total practicing of Quran. Total implementation of Quran. Core introduction and implementation of Quran and Sunnis. Of course they are. Yes, Salafism. Salafism. That is what it is. That is where most of Nigerian Muslims went and picked knowledge. And let me now tell you something. They were able to go to Sudan because they believe that in Sudan there are certain practices in Sudan. I'm talking about the old Sudan, not Sudan of what it is today. They believe that in Sudan, they saw that in Sudan that Muslims, the Sudanese Muslim of before this time, that they have mastered and consolidate the act of taking charge of everything about Sudan. Sudan should be said to be 50-50, Christians and Muslims. If you look at southern Sudan, you have dominantly Christians. If you look at northern Sudan, you have dominantly Muslims. Now, the Sudan I'm talking is Sudan before 2005 or earlier before that. So in Sudan, despite the presence of Christians, a very reasonable number of presence of Christians in Sudan, as at that time, the Sudanese Muslims who succeeded in taking over the executive, judiciary, legislative components of Sudanese society, decide to make sure that everybody, whether you like it or not, must adhere to Islamic correspondence. They implemented it, they pushed for it, they consolidated on it. So these Nigerian, Muslims who traveled to Sudan to study, they got impregnated with the idea that they can return back to Nigeria, implement Islamic correspondence, establish, subjugate the non-Muslims as it was practiced in the old Sudan. They got that, Salafism, teachings of Islam. The school, they went to university, it becomes an ideology. People do not understand. When you think Nigeria, the fundamentalist, the jihad will just be something, a president will come and tell you, I will end this, you're joking. Because imagine we over 1,000 people have gone to a place, got impregnated with an idea, and when they return, so many of them find themselves in a sensitive positions of governance. And they see their position as a duty to implement what they learned in Sudan. And that was why. When America saw what was happening in Sudan, America took it as a responsibility. Listen and listen very carefully while you see them shouting, oh, we don't want to be like Sudan. You're pushing, your plan is to push us to Sudan. Oh, you want to Sudanize us. All those nonsense are anchored on the fact they know what they have in their mind. What could not be established in Sudan, they want to establish it here. Because when they were doing those nonsense, America was keenly observing them. Israel was really observing them. As a matter of fact, this is basically geopolitics. For those of you who have a tease there, who mock geopolitics, you will live to regret it. While they were doing the nonsense, America was observing them. Because Sudan, to them, was a clear ground of destroying a modern Islamization of a society. So, when somebody is doing something and nobody is talking, he might be thinking he has an extensive, control. No, your control is limited. That nobody has called you into question does not mean you are not being watched. That is how life is configured. So when they were doing all those nonsense in Sudan, in Darfur region, destroying, compelling, and let me tell you, why the Sudanese government, Islamic controlled government, you cannot understand similarity, how they run, how they rule. You see, in Sudan, the government will always claim, Islamic government of Sudan will always claim that, the attempt to Islamize the entire Sudan was not the policy and the project of the government. While the government is living in denial, the government was secretly funding the Janjaweed, funding other jihadist groups to unleash hell on Christian-dominated South. Each time the global community calls the government and say, why are you allowing the genocide against the Christians in Sudan? The government will tell you, we are not part of it. We are doing our best to curtail it. It's always a common mantra. We are doing our best. But behind the minds of them, they are funding the Janjaweed to destroy lives in Darfur. There was a genocide in Darfur region. A lot of lives were wasted. And why these things were happening, the Nigerian students, most of you never knew. I'm going to shock you because you do not understand the mess we are collectively into. You see, most of them who went to Sudan to study this thing were even sponsored with Nigerian money under Third Fund. They were funded with Nigerian money to go and study Islamic jurisprudence, of course, Sharia, and how it's going to be implemented in Nigeria. They went there not with their personal fund. The Federal Republic of Nigeria funded majority of them under Third Fund. Maybe you have to research. Of course, it's a data that is not restricted to individual level. It's a data that is in public domain. Most of them were sent as far back as 70s, 80s, early 20s. And the Western communities were just watching them. Unfortunately, a lot of people died. And of course, when the West arose, held them accountable, and discovered that there is no way. Listen and listen very carefully, because when you see them shouting Sudan, they know what they are doing. They know why they are shouting Sudan. They know where they are putting a strong reference point to Sudan. Because they know what is going to await. They know what is going to happen to the Nigerian state. They know it. They can't run away from it. Forget if you like, have they not sent the high-powered delegates to Washington, D.C.? As they have they not? Is Trump not saying that he's still angry, that it's a disgraced country? Because U.S. has intelligence report that cannot be denied. Yes. U.S. is privy to high-level intelligence report. Undeniable one. You cannot disprove it. Because, of course, they are in the satellite, they are in the orbit. Even where you're studying that your extremism ideology, CIA agent is within the circuit. And of course, you should appreciate that level of wideness. So when US and Israel, took it upon themselves to stop the nonsense that was happening in Sudan, a lot of these Islamic clerics in Sudan who trained the Islamic, most of them in Nigeria, were trained in Sudan. When US decided to solve the problem of Sudan, US came with a practical solution. And what is that practical solution? US said to herself, there is no better way we can solve this other than splitting Sudan between the Christian area and the Muslim area. At the earlier stage, they thought it was a joke. It was something that was not going to happen. They felt it was a very difficult thing, because as far as Islam is concerned, after Saudi Arabia, the next place that is grounded in Islamic scholarly jobs, academic footprint, is Sudan, apart from Saudi Arabia. The next place you see an age-long Islamic pinnacles is Sudan. So to them, it's not going to be a very easy thing for America to do, because in Sudan, who is who in Islam? Who is who? In as much as jihad is concerned, who is who have footprint in Sudan, including late Osama bin Laden. Of course, he was shot in Sudan, so he has a lot of guys in Sudan. So they felt, when you don't know, you see, one thing people do not, when you don't know the limit of your power, if you don't know the limit of your power, one day we discover that what you have taken, the substance that makes you to forget your limit will clear one day. And when US was warning them, they felt nothing US can do over that. If I push out the stickers of a lot of things they said to them, just the way they are talking in Nigeria. Currently, you see them saying, you want to divide us, we don't want you. All those stories. In fact, they are not even sounding more harder than how al-Bashir and all of them in Sudan sounded. What you're seeing them shouting in Nigeria is not measurable to what those of them in Sudan shouted. Because Sudan was an epicenter as far as Islam is concerned. So they thought it's unimaginable for US and Israeli interest to prevail. They raped, they threatened, they, say all manners of things greater than what you hear them saying in Nigeria. When US entered and cracked them, all of them were in Iran. They flew. They flew. So when US entered Sudan, US came to the realization that, look, the government is complicit. The government is compromised. They are not going to do anything. They are not going to guarantee the safety of Christians in southern Sudan. Do you know what US did? US directly went for the balkanization of Sudan. Splitted it. Heaven did not fall. And to today, southern Sudan is a reality. Doesn't matter what you might say. So skirmishes happening there. The truth remains, you cannot talk about a sovereign state without counting southern Sudan. Established, consolidated, and is running. That is how it goes. So you see them, they are making reference to Sudan because they also have access to certain intelligence. They understand what America is up to. And then you see all this unnecessary concern about the rest of it. Now, let us now come back home. You see, when you look at the jihad in Nigeria, out of research, you would understand that there's nothing anybody can do about it. Boko Haram, for instance, is not a Fulani jihad movement. Fulani is not in control of Boko Haram. Boko Haram is controlled by the Kanuris. Just like the VP of Nigeria, Shetima is not a Fulani, he's from Kanuri. And if you look at when Boko Haram started, courtesy of Mohammed Yusuf, the Fulanis never supported Boko Haram. That was why, because Fulanis never funded Boko Haram. There's a sense of you to know these things so that when you want to talk, you talk like humans. Because sometimes we abhor research, we don't want to know. When we talk, people laugh at us. Boko Haram was not established by the Fulanis. Boko Haram was funded by the Kanuris. And where do you see Kanuris? You see them in Borno, you see them in Kebbi. And that was why, when Boko Haram was established, the Fulani president of that time, late Yaradua, was not happy that it was the it was the Kanuris who never allowed themselves to be conquered. They have floated a jihad movement. Listen very carefully. They were not happy with that. Because if you study the history of jihad in the north, you find out that the Kanuri people, the Kanuris, fought against the jihad, fought against Usman Dan Fodio, and made sure that the Fulani Usman Dan Fodio never established emirate in Kanuri Kingdom. If you go to Borno today, you don't see Emir of Borno. What you see is Shehu of Borno. Because they refused Fulani to import emirate. So, that was why Yaradua was not happy. And you see, when Boko Haram started, Shetima, who is a Kanuri man, he was the governor, current vice president, he was the governor of Borno State as at that time. Kabiru Sokoto, who bombed the church in Magala, was found in the house of Shetima. Yes, in the government lodge of Shetima. So, because the Fulanis now saw that, oh, it seems that the Kanuris through Boko Haram seem to be dominating the whole thing. Yaradua, a Fulani man, killed Mohammed Yusuf, a Kanuri man who founded Boko Haram, and Boko Haram get hairwire. And the Fulanis began to watch. What did they do? They now advance their brothers in Sahel, who are running ISWAP. When you look at ISWAP, ISWAP is dominated by the Fulanis. Lukuwara, Fulanis. And other splinter groups, Fulanis. The Fulani politicians now ask their brother, oh, bring a jihad group for us. And that's why when you hear that there is a war between ISWAP and Boko Haram, it is a war, it's an ethnic war. It is an ethnic war. The ISWAP, dominated by the Fulanis, fighting the Boko Harams, dominated by the Kanuris, in order to maintain control. Why you need to understand this, so that you understand. For those of us who are gullible, some of us who are gullible think is a matter you're going to solve within, or by presidential pronouncement. That's why when you hear, oh, that ISWAP is fighting Boko Haram, Lukuwara is fighting Boko Haram, it is the Fulanis jihad group trying to dominate the Kanuri controlled Boko Haram. Now, it has gotten to a point that Tinubu, for instance, having seen that Shetima have some level of control to Boko Haram, said, okay, let us bring him close. Let us see if we can make him a VP, so that he can reach out to his brethren, his Kanuri people in Boko Haram, possibly negotiate with them to let his government to have peace of mind. Of course, they brought Shetima. And I believe, personally, that is my personal opinion, I believe that Shetima is also doing his best to control his Kanuri brothers, the Boko Haram. In fact, Shetima said it, that he will be in charge of security, Tinubu will be in charge of economy. He said it. Why did he say it? Because he have access to Boko Haram. But something happened along the line. Why he could tame and control the Boko Haram, the Fulanis elites were also planning another thing. Lukuwara, ISWAP, which Shetima do not have control over. The bandits, Fulanis, Shetima does not have influence over them because they are not of his ethnic stock. These are different people altogether. Now look at the danger here. Why Shetima's brethren, the Kanuri people, dominated Boko Haram? Listen and listen very carefully. Their agenda is to make sure that Sharia is practiced, especially in the northern region. They have no business, Boko Haram have no business with South. All these things I'm telling you, write it down so that you understand. Boko Haram has no business with the South. Boko Haram is mainly Kanuri project to make sure that Sharia is observed mostly within the north, probably establishing a Sharia country for north. That is the agenda of Boko Haram. So to the Fulani elites, such is not going to be supported because they are not going to be in control of it. And remember, the Fulani elites' agenda is to make sure they take over the land in the name of driving for jihad. Boko Haram is not interested in the lands and resources in the south. It's none of their business. But ISWAP, which is Fulani dominated, Lukuwara and others, and some of them, have a clear objective to take over the entire country. And they are being backed with the Salafists. And if you look at Nigeria, for instance, if you break it down, there is a group known as Izala group. Izala is spent, you cannot believe where we all are using smartphone so that you can understand it. Now you have a group known as Izala, and this group is an offshoot of Salafis. Yes, they are offshoots of Salafists. So when you have your time, you can make a research on it. I said Izala movement is spelled Izala. They are an offshoot of the Salafists. And I told you earlier that the Salafists always talk of practicing Islam, Orthodox Islam, the way it was from the beginning. In fact, they hate any modern theory, introduction of modern theory in Islam. So most of the clerics you see in Nigeria, they are Salafists. And they are subgroup of Izala. Now, when you look at this group, the official name is, so that you understand it, Jama'atu Izalatil Bidawa Igamatus Sunni is an Arab word, so forgive me if I didn't give it to you how it's supposed to be. This Izala, the official, is officially known as Jama'atu Izaliti Bida Wa Ignamatus Sunna Jibwis. That is how it's mainly pronounced. And if you translate that in English, what it means is this: Society for Removal of Innovations. Society for Removal of Innovations. And establishment of Sunnah. So they hate anything that has to do with innovation. I mean, the Izala group. The Izala group, I'm talking about, most of top Nigerian northern politicians are just members. Most, I didn't say some, most. That is what it is. And their patron is Sheikh Gumi. I know you will be funny to hear this. Remember, they are anti-innovation. So they believe that Quran should be taught and practiced without any transformation and reform of any kind. And the Zala group is being, their patron is Sheikh Gumi. You should know better. Now, this group have done a very wonderful job in Nigeria. I want you to know. They have controlled the government in Nigeria. They control the judiciary. They control the security in Nigeria. Which means they are deeply in control of Nigeria. So when you see them telling you that they are going to start integrating terrorists, captured terrorists, they are going to integrate them into the system, it's because the system belongs to them. Those you captured belongs to them. They are just their foot soldier. So they have deeply penetrated. So if anybody out of stupidity and the lack of research now think that the system they are in control can stop and destroy their fighters, are you joking? A system they are in control, a system they are managing will now go after their boys. Are you kidding me? I tend not to understand something. That is why no matter what Sheikh Gumi says, no matter what he does, he can hit his chest to say nobody can do him anything. Why? Because the system is being controlled by them. They have controlled the government. They are controlling the agencies of the government. And they are controlling the resources of Nigeria. So that is to tell you how deep they are. Now, US, out of intelligence gathering, knew that what is happening in Nigeria is not only jihad, it's ethnic cleansing. And not just ethnic cleansing, it's also part of political control, so socio-political control. Because evidences are proving that these guys, wherever they attack, they start managing the resources of those places. Anywhere they destroy lives, especially Christian lives, like in Chibok, in Burma, and all the rest of them, they start tapping the resources of those places. So it's not all about. So it's not all about religion. It has a religion undertone. It has political undertone. It has economic undertone. And that's why you see them being so strong. You hear the story, the ISWAP and the Boko Haram are fighting in Chad Basin. Ask yourself, why are they always fighting in Chad Basin? Why only in Chad Basin? Are there no other places they could fight? Are there no other places they find themselves because of the resources of Chad Basin? Because of what they are tapping in Chad Basin? The Fulani control ISWAP and Kanuri control Boko Haram are contesting who to control the resources. As a matter of fact, you should not expect your government to tell you this on the mainstream, terribly bad mainstream media to inform you about this. So, US is now trying to picture Nigeria from the same thing she pictured Sudan. And that is why you see them shouting Sudan, Sudan. And most of us in our should I say childish behavior, US is taking time US is taking time. In fact, as a matter of fact, US own you nothing. The issue of you protecting yourself depends on you. So if anybody is now loaning a voice, putting an advocacy for you, is a gesture. The US owns nothing to each and every one of us. You must understand. So if US decides if the President of the United States, Donald Trump, decide to take this as a priority, it's a gesture. Let us remove this mindset, blah, blah, blah. And of course, they will work according to their timeline, not based on how you feel. Because someone knows, they are taking time, and they are not coming. Remove your mind there. All those things, because you are an African who does not believe in planning when it comes to discharging or pursuing an interest. You hate planning. You do not understand planning. Planning is just like a mystery to you. But that is a mystery to you doesn't mean somebody should just mystify it. You have chosen to live a life of fire brigade man, and somebody is living a life of carefully putting indices together. And you're there ranting. It's quite unfortunate. Because our people do not understand how systems work. And that's why we love ragtag behavior. We do things in a disoriented and disorganized manner. Because all we always think, if it doesn't happen now, immediate, it doesn't worth doing. How will US be so condescending to live according to how you want it? You're talking about a superpower. Because people do not understand. You want a country that has a huge asset, not to negotiate places she can keep it. You mean a country that considers domestic opinion to just move without, configuring domestic opinion to be favorable to her foreign policy. And this is why we are not sophisticated in mind. And that's why we can be deceived because of our attitude and passion for fire brigade approach. And that's why we keep on making blunders. But we don't have a strategic plans. We have zero understanding of what strategic planning is all about. All we have passion is that just do it in a ragtag way. Anyhow, no. Reasonable and responsible people do not believe do things that way. Yes, you got to know about that. So, US have started talking about this, and you see them in Asorok. All these guys are just jittering, trying to tell you that everything is likely to go on Sudan way. They know that US, if you look at Fox News, if you look at CNN, if you look at most Western media platforms, if you look at the map they are projecting, you will understand what is going on. Now, I wish I can project. So far I don't know I can't project anything on this system. But if you look at the map they are showing, you should understand the message US is pushing out. I know some of us are mentally lazy not to take cognizance of these very facts, but they are just there. I just want to show you something, and that's why you see them shouting, they want to divide Nigeria. They want to scatter the country like Sudan, because they know Of course. Mhm. Mhm. Because people do not understand how these things work. We do not. We do our things, we believe everything is fire brigade approach. It doesn't work that way. I'm just trying to see if I can get that very map. Okay, here it is. Here it is. Let me. No, it's on a video version, but let me see if I. Now, if you have this, just watch this. If you watch this map, I believe you are seeing it well. But if you watch this map has a lot to tell you. And that's why you see them shouting, oh, if you watch this map, that's why you see them shouting Sudan, Sudan, Sudan. On that map, you will understand the dimension at which US is coming. This is coming from Fox News, and most Western media have been projecting this map. At the top of this map, you have, sorry, it seems I'm making this to be more academic, but won't take much to end. If you watch this map, for instance, you'll find above there, you see a light blue color. And this is where US have identified as Muslim-dominated areas. Now, if you watch below it, below the map, below the light blues area, that is the yellow area, this is where US have marked. Listen very carefully. We are talking global politics. You might not understand symbols. Countries most times speak with symbols. If you look at that map, you see green. Sorry, you see light blue, you see yellow, you see red. Now, at that light blue area is where US officially identifies as Muslim area. So US might not really be interested on what is going on there, Now, on the yellow side, which is mainly the middle belt and states, US identifies it as a point that must be concentrated. Now, if you look at Dan, listen, if you now look at Dan, which is our own region where we find ourselves, US identified it with red, means a no-go area, a danger zone. What it means is this. What US is projecting here is this, that for us to make sure that this our no-go area, which is the south, talk about southeast, south-south, southwest, which is a no-go area for US, is a no-go area. And they can never tolerate any incursion on this area. But for US, for that to be achieved, they have to make sure that the boundary line here, between the light green area and the red area is the yellow area, and that is the middle belt. So US understand that for her to secure the red area, the red there means is a danger area. It's a danger area that US can never allow anybody to penetrate. It doesn't matter who you are. The blue area, already China is in charge. The yellow area is the belt, the demarcation point, the boundary point between the red zone. Whenever you see red zone, when people say red zone, it means a place you can never. They can tolerate you having other colors, but you see red zone, you can never penetrate. So, the West are now seeing a way to control these guys in Middle Belt. Because if you don't curtail them in Middle Belt, the core area US has interest, the red line areas, which is the southern area, is in jeopardy. And you now see them panicking. You understand? They are shouting. If you any official position, you will hear Sudan. If you talk to anybody in the presidency, he said US agenda is Sudan. Talk to any Islamic scholar, they tell you Sudan. But one thing you have to understand, this vituperation, Sudan vituperation, or should I say Sudanese mantra, is not modern. When US was entering in Sudan, people also displayed all manners of, chagrins, mantras, and vituperations. Did it stop US? It never stopped US. And as a matter of fact, Sudan, the old Sudan, was more known, more powerful in terms of military, hardware and software than even Nigeria. And yet, it didn't stop US. Now, what is US concern? US understand that she has successfully destroyed Sudan, which has to be a hotbed where Islamists and jihadists are trained. Osama bin Laden also got trained in Sudan. And US have succeedingly scattered that place. What US did in Sudan, it will take Sudan over 500 years to build back. US did not pull out southern Sudan. US made sure that the northern Sudan will be so much wrecked that they will never heal back until the world ends. And the concern of US intelligence is this, that most scholars in Sudan, most fundamentalists in Sudan are not coming to Nigeria to say, let us practice, let us implement what we could not achieve in Sudan, let us do it in Nigeria. They are relocating and finding Nigeria as a destination. And US is worried. US is concerned. American president says he's angry over the development. And people do not understand when a country president says he's angry, every agency must work to make the president happy. That is how it is from Abunisi, from the period of kings and monarchs. When leaders say to you they are angry, you must do something to make the president happy. And Trump said it yesterday, that he's very angry. And Pentagon will do everything, CIA, FBI, they will do everything possible to make the president happy. So what am I trying to say? This is what is going to happen. The disintegration of Nigeria is not something anybody can start saying is impossible. It's already possible. Forget the distraction they are trying to create. Unlawfully, sentencing the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. Out of there, they say, okay, let's take him to Sokoto. All those things they are doing, they know what they are doing. They want Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to dominate because already people are hitting them heavily on evidences of genocide. They can't stop what is going out of Nigeria. People from Middle Belt are doing a wonderful job. Christians in Connaught are also doing a wonderful job. And of course, we're also doing a wonderful job. Every single Congress member in his email, in his social media inbox, had videos and evidences of genocide against Christians. And do you know what they felt? Oh, let us, these guys are the guys who have the social media work. They are the ones destroying us. They are the ones doing a whole lot of things. Let us divert their attention. By the time we move their leader to Sokoto, perhaps they will start concentrating talking. Then we can now know how to dose down this tension. But the truth remains, it's only when you have ignorant people, we have the capacity to discuss the two topics. Discuss Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and also discuss the Christian genocide, pari passu, simultaneously. Yes. Discuss Mazi Nnamdi Kanu because he's the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, whose only crime is asking for the right of self-determination. Discuss Christian genocide because it's an existential threat. You don't understand it. So, we must, as a matter of necessity, understand that these guys are not going to back down. And I will also give kudos. Of course, let me check time. We have just done 1 hour. I won't bog us with much time, so that we'll round up. I think we've done 1 hour, 1 minute. Okay, so what we must understand is this. There is no country on earth, I stand to be corrected, that has been discussed by United States of America that remains the same. I want you to correct me. There is absolutely no country on the planet Earth that US has discussed, the legislature and the executive arm of the United States have done extensive discussion on, that remains the same. No country. And Nigeria will not remain the same. They know it. Of course, they know it. It doesn't matter how anyone interprets it. Nigeria can only have two options. And I want us to start preparing our mind on this reality. Nigeria can only have two options. The one option is the option of external sovereignty, which is pieces the country, let everybody go to his way. Another option, which they are negotiating currently, is what we call internal sovereignty. They are trying to tell US that we can decentralize power, we can devalue, we can restructure, we can do this. Don't go for total splitting. They are trying to present that, they are trying to see if they can sell that idea to US for internal sovereignty. That US should not go for total splitting, but US can now do to worship. They are telling US, instead of implementing Sudan system, Sudan factor, why not implement Iraq factor, which I'm going to explain. Now, Sudan factor is talking about total splitting. Iraq factor is talking about internal sovereignty, just what they did to the Kurdish people. The Kurdish people were asked to have autonomy, run your resources, have your army, Peshmerga, have your, run your foreign policy. Because Iraq do not have a sweet relationship with Israel, but the Kurdish, which is in Iraq, runs a superb relationship with Israel. So that is what they're trying to sell to US. They're trying to sell that agenda to US. The US, why not develop? Now, let me not tell you. If US decide to buy that idea, there's nothing bad about that idea also. There's absolutely nothing bad with that idea. But look at where the challenge comes in. Look at where the challenge comes in. Our local politicians, I mean politicians from our own region, believe that such cannot come while IPOB is existing. They are worried on that. They want IPOB to be destroyed so that IPOB will not have the capacity to control that region. And that's why when we tell some of us that it is a game of interest. You and I want a better society. We want a society our children can walk on the street freely. We want a society you don't need to know any police officer to walk freely. But these politicians who are already, the system have enriched them, enriched their family, believe that what we are pursuing is going to remove food on their table. It's all about interest. And they believe that the best thing to do is to destroy IPOB. And how to destroy IPOB? They believe that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is still sound mentally. He seems not to be weakened mentally. He's still, strong. Mentally, he's doing a lot of things, standing so tall. So let us go to a point of pushing him that he will have no other option than to signing out the project. Do you understand? Because they are afraid that what is coming, Nigeria is not going to. In fact, Nigeria does not have what it is. I mean, she does not have what it takes to resist whatever US is imposing on her. She doesn't. I know what I'm talking about. Have they not gone to DC? What is the result? In fact, as they are rounding up in DC, the president of US is still reminding them that they are disgrace, and he's still angry with them. So, what the politicians are trying to do, how do we destroy IPOB ahead of this time? Because the fear remains that if internal sovereignty idea is accepted by the international community, for your information, it's not USA only that is projecting this. It's not going direction of NATO. Italy has made a position aligning to. You will hear Canada, you will hear all of them. Just don't worry. That is how it goes. It can only grow. So the politicians are saying, if internal sovereignty is accepted or is now being the option, that IPOB can now move to be a political movement and position her people to control the region. And that is a worry. That is their concern. That is their disturbances. Because if anybody tells you that Nigeria is going to remain the same, the person is kidding. That era is gone. The era of Nigeria remaining the same is far, far, far gone. Are you seeing them making noise again? They are not tuning down their voice or voices. Do you see them ranting? At the earlier time when President Trump spoke, they were just running here. But it's done to them that the man is not kidding, because certain assets they have seen the man moved got them convinced that he's not kidding. And of course, the Congress people told them, I said, President Trump does not give a threat. He doesn't believe in giving you threat. So if he says he's angry, before he sounded that, he has resolved on how to ruthlessly deal with you. The Congress people, they gave money because they lobbied. They lobbied. And these guys told them point blank, thank you for lobbying us. Thank you for the dollars you are giving us. But the truth remains that this guy doesn't put up a threat. He doesn't believe in threatening anybody. He will hit you beyond recognition. And if you don't take care of, if you're not careful, if you don't take care of what you're doing, all of you might be bonded to ICC. The US has the power to configure the narrative that all of you are accomplices to what is going on, and face international justice system. They know it. They know it. So what is most important here is for us to understand, because most of us, sometimes we do not even understand certain things. We do not understand the trajectory of things. You know, the struggle for restoration of Biafra, for me, this is my personal view, is divine. But when God is helping a people, the people also have that duty to help themselves. Yes, the people have the duty to help themselves. What am I trying to say? Because I think I should come to the end of this program. What I'm trying to say is this. This is a time we need, the mental grace to multitask. This is a time we must have the mental ability to multitask. Multitasking, I mean, every single one of us, we should have the ability in handling multiple discussions at a time. Discussing our leader and his current state, discussing the Christian genocide, discussing the security of our land, because our land is the only land that has not been badly hit by these jihadists. And don't say they are not attempting to infiltrate. They have been. And I thank God for the great men and women in ESN who are doing their best. Sometimes we lose them too. It's a sad situation. Sometimes we lose them. But thank God for them at least mitigating that which would have been a disaster. Yoruba land is already a mess. In fact, they have started shutting down some schools in Yoruba land. Ijebu, a few days ago, they dealt with a mining site, took away a lot of Chinese. Kwara, I see what is going on in Kwara. Kogi is already falling. And if Niger, Kogi, Plateau are in such a mess, Abuja is also vulnerable. So it is important we, so it is important we understand this. It's important to understand this. Why I'm taking my time to gently make this analysis, so that, most of you do not understand the battle. The aim of all these things is to weaken IPOB, is to destroy us, is to announce our demise and end. But the truth is, what we are fighting is self-determination. It is not a criminal project. It's not a criminal project. It's never a criminal project. What we are fighting is a honorable cause. Nigeria also is supporting it in Palestinians, supporting it in Western Sahara. So why should we be afraid, shivering for asking for self-determination? I also understand those of them who have this contrary view of, criminal elements who, those story of Omoma and all the rest of them, which IPOB have frankly spoken against. Yes. Those of our brothers who say, oh, we don't like what you guys are doing because of the activities of Umoma and unknown government, the autopilot boys who are ransacking everywhere. They have a genuine cause. The argument is pure. Yes. And IPOB also, if not that certain individuals with their stupid acts try to correlate the whole thing to look as if IPOB is behind it. IPOB leadership has been frowning against those things. Just that some stupid people trying to link the Finland guy with Janjaweed, which is a sad situation. But even our brothers who are saying, you cannot be killing yourself in the name of your fighting for, they are right. Nobody does that. Kidnapping, snatching their cars, and you say you're fighting for everyone. Who does that? Self-determination is a movement of honorable men and women, people with integrity. Yes, you must be honorable before you can talk about self-determination. You can't be a criminal element, one who has passion in car snatching, kidnapping, and when they talk, you say you're doing Biafra, or punish you. You're not doing Biafra. Biafra has no business with that. Biafra has no business with that. So it is our business, it is our responsibility to tell our stories. Else, we will be highly vulnerable and rejected in the society. And that's what the elites are working to do. They just want to make it that people will be ashamed to associate with this. It is a false flag they run, and we must remake that ugly narrative and pushes. So I want to appreciate every single one of us for your time, because your time is very, very important. Your time, your patience, and your ability to pause things you're doing, and give us your listening ear. Be strong. Pray for our leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Those concerned are doing the best they can do as well to see how to get him freed. Let's just be prayerful and watchful. Above all, we also have to support the leadership. This is a time they need our support. This is a time they need our support. They have done their best to hold strong the movement when the midst of blackmail, lies, deception. They stood their ground. It's not easy. Not everyone could do that. Not everyone could do that. But they withstood their ground despite, all hybrid allegations, lies peddled against them by the enemies of themselves, people who hate themselves. They withstood their ground. Let each and every one understand that you are not fighting this for anybody. If our project for self-determination collapses, now we collapse. If it's successful, we also, applaud each and every one of us at the end of the journey. So let us be strong. You have to be strong. No people on earth are stand to be corrected. Who have gone through the process we are going that have never seen the worst than the one we are seeing. We are lucky within a short period of time, less than 20 years, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu started. We are seeing global attention. We are lucky. There are people who have spent, Palestinians are over 70 years now, and they are counting. They started as far back as 1948. 1948. So some of them who started earlier that time should be, I think, about 80 years plus. So let us be strong. Our own world speed, I must frankly tell you, the Afro Restoration movement is on speed line. Because I'm a student of history, I have studied a lot of comparative history. I have studied, I have studied a lot of people's history. So we are on a speed line. I must tell you, we're on a speed line, frankly speaking. We must be strong. I can tell you as a student of history and diplomatic study that Nigeria will never remain the same. Nigeria will never remain the same. And Nigeria will never remain the same. That's just what it is. Go take it to the bank. Just go take it to the bank. You see this effort. You see how, they had a meeting at the Work Consecutive Forum. Aliko Dangote was there. What is it? Gowon. You could see what everybody is shouting. Because most of us never knew what we have done. I said this, I think, on yesterday's program. We don't know what we have done. What are they shouting now? Gowon is shouting, oh, North is facing division. Atiku is shouting, North is facing division. Dangote is shouting, North is facing division. So everybody is now struggling. How do we, that the North is collapsing before their own very eyes? And you can't tell me that a man who spearheaded the process of telling the non-Fulanis in the North to write, that they will just handle him with a kiss glove. Yes, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, he drove on the lane that nobody has driven. You don't know that. You better know that. Yes. He drove on the lane that nobody has ever driven it in the history of Nigeria. Somebody said my voice is no more coming. Please let me know. Say my voice is no longer coming. Let me know, please, before I conclude. Say my voice is no more coming. How true is this? This way. I cannot hear you. Okay, somebody says it's very low. Another person says, please check if it's better now. Is it better? Oh, okay, it's coming. So we each and every one of us, we have done a good job shaking the foundation of Nigeria. Force them to discuss what ordinarily they refuse to discuss. That is what it is. So let us understand all these things we've done. Let us understand it. Let us understand it. We have done an amazing job. We have, okay, now that the voice is getting low, maybe we just have to round up. I don't know. Somebody is saying better, some people are saying it's getting low. Okay, it's very low. Okay, it's okay. So we'll try next time. Good. I want to appreciate us. Thank you so much. Next time, do have the best of the weekend.